Nice. Good to see some people here today. It's very nice. Very much appreciate you giving up your Sunday morning to be here. There's bed. You could be in bed. It's a good thing to do on a Sunday morning. So it's really nice that you actually get up and come here for this. So just, I kind of wanted to ask people a question. Who's kind of heard the saying that like, it's good to be in the present moment? Yeah, you basically all heard that, yeah? As you've basically probably heard this idea of like, you should be in the present moment at all times, yeah? You should be, and it's no good to be in the past, or it's no good to be in the future. Why think about the past and why think about the future, yeah? So this is probably this is quite a common trope that we get these days. That it's better to be in the present. You shouldn't get too involved in the past. You shouldn't get too caught up in thinking about the future. It's in a lot of popular Buddhism these days. It's also, it's very, you could say it's like central to the modern mindfulness, spiritual movement. Present moment awareness is the big thing, is the biggest thing with that. And look, you can even, if you do look back into some of the Buddhist scriptures, you do find instances of this where the Buddha was talking about not getting too wrapped up in either the past or the future. There's this nice passage I found in the Majjhima Nikaya. It's in something called, in a sutta called, what is it? One Good Night, One Good Night or something like that. And the Buddha basically says, don't run back to the past, don't anticipate the future. What's past is left behind and the future has not arrived. Any present phenomena you should clearly discern in every case. So, we can kind of see here, it's like there's an emphasis that, being in the present is a good thing, and getting kind of wrapped up in the past or the future is, kind of not preferable. That's seem okay to most people at the moment, yeah? So I just have a bit of a question for everyone, and you don't have to answer this. I'm not trying to out anyone here in any kind of ways. But how much time do you actually spend in the present? Not much, yeah. Like if you don't have to sing this out, but just try to think of the percentage of your day that you actually really spend in the present. Is it really high? Is it over 50%?
Depends what I'm doing.
Depends what you're doing, yeah.
If you're doing a task that requires concentration,
yeah.
Then you've just got to be concentrated.
So it depends on what you're doing. If you are doing something where it does require a bit more of your attention, you probably are a little bit more in the present. What about if you're just going about your daily life? In most ways, you're driving to work, you're on the bus. A lot of times, are you in the present then? Are you mainly thinking about something that you got to do later? When you wake up in the morning, are you in the present? Maybe not really. So I think there's this kind of idea here that being in the present is good, and being in the past or the future is not so preferable. But at least for me, my kind of take on this is I actually think that that's an impractical stance to have, because we don't spend a lot of our time in the present. So I think it more becomes a question of, well, how do we actually relate to the past and the future? How do we in some way actually look at these kind of things where it is useful? What I want to kind of talk about today is that I think there's one way we can relate to the past, the present, and the future. In one way that we relate to it, it actually traps us. And there's another way that we relate to the past, the present, and the future that actually frees us. So I'm gonna talk through some of this today, and let's see if we can kind of get some intuitions around this. So just first off, very simple intuitions around this is what do you think is the upside of thinking about the past? Oh, sorry, the downside of thinking about the past. Let's make it easy. What's the downside of thinking about and inhibiting the past too much? It's a waste of time. Yeah, it can be a waste. It can be seen as a waste of time. What's another thing? You're falling into regret. You're falling into regret. You're thinking about things that you may have done, and it's not a good thing. Yeah, or something else. You're getting all the defilements. So if you're thinking about certain things, it might be bringing up kind of negative states. There's maybe or reliving kind of habit patterns in this kind of way. Yeah? Yeah? Yeah?
I think you can be jealous of the past.
You can be jealous of the past. Could you expand on that a little bit?
Because when you're young, everything's so easy.
Yep.
You remember your life was so great.
Yep.
And then you remember now it's not.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think most of us have that kind of like false memory of the. So the comment was, we're jealous of the past because we maybe think about when we were younger and everything was great and awesome, and now it's like, oh, everything's not so great. So we can have a kind of envy or a jealousy for the past, and I think we have selective memories as well. If you remember back to being a teenager, it's maybe not all so great. But you're right, and I think you're right in this way that maybe we have a kind of envy for the past in some kind of way. Yeah. So, but okay, so that's the downsides of thinking about and inhibiting the past. Like, well, what are some of the what are some of the upsides of thinking about inhibiting the past? Yeah.
You can learn from them.
Yeah. We basically learn from the past. We see something in our past, so we actually, okay, I've done that. Now, should I do that again or not? What about it? What's something else? What's some other upside of thinking about the past? Yeah.
Achievements you have done,
Yeah.
not for yourself,
Yep.
or in general for the society.
Yeah. We can recollect some of the stronger things that we've done, and essentially this is what we get with a lot of certain kinds of Buddhist practices as well. Say something, for example, like Silanusati. We're recollecting the good that we've done before, or Chaganusati or Dhanasati. We're recollecting the good actions that we've actually done, and it brings up a kind of wholesome quality within the mind. So if we can kind of see in one way, if we inhibit and we think about the past in one way, it can be negative in some way, but it also can be positive in this way. So is thinking about and inhibiting the past either bad or good? Depends if you get stuck in it, yeah. But what I'm kind of getting at, like, we can basically say it's equivalent. It's equivalent in this kind of way. It's not either bad or it's not either good. It's neither one of those two things. Now let's sort of go, jump to the easy one again. What's some of the downsides of thinking too much about the future? Anxiety. We get anxiety. We get worked up about different things that might happen to us. Yeah. We don't pay attention to what we're doing now. We kind of get lost in thought, and we might go towards the future. We forget what we're actually doing now. Yeah. The future is uncertain, so we might build a particular story around it, and we might then we're thinking about something that may not even happen within itself. Yeah. What's some other things? Yep. So we think about the future and we want the future to be a certain kind of way. So we want to kind of control it to some extent. And obviously reality doesn't pan out that way. And so that can have a negative impact on our life, but also on our mental health as well. Yeah. Some other things. Yeah, it's good enough for now. Okay. So what are some of the upsides of thinking about the future though? You plan things out. Yeah. Hopefully you make rational decisions. You think about the future and hopefully you make rational decisions. You plan things out. What's some other upsides of thinking about the future?
Get yourself mentally prepared for certain things.
Yeah.
Anything, let's say, meet up with somebody that you don't like.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So, actually, and that's...
Not to react, but to associate in a positive way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So there's that element of, it allows us to travel forward and see how we might act in a certain situation that's uncertain, that is uncertain. Actually, and this is what we have a lot of future planning for, mapping the environment and basically seeing how we will act in a particular kind of thing. So this is obviously incredibly this is obviously incredibly helpful. And look, and again, if we think about this in terms of Dhamma practice, we have these things called the 5 subjects of frequent recollection. These are future orientated. These are recollections about the future. I am of the nature to get old. I am of the nature to get sick. I am of the nature to die. I will come across things that I don't like. I'll be separated from things that I do like. So there's this element there. We can look at the future. We can look at the future and kind of reflect on it in a useful way. Now here's the trickier one, I think. But let's kind of softball it and let's go easy. Like, what's the upside of being in the present? What's the good things about being in the present?
You can be skillful of what you're doing.
You can be skillful of what you're doing. Maybe you're aware of what you're doing, so you become skillful in what you're doing. Yeah. You maybe don't color the present with your past. If you're really truly seeing the present for what it is, you're not getting wrapped up in things that have happened. Yeah. We can become more aware, and we become more mindful of not falling into bad habits, doing unwholesome things. Yeah. There should be way more answers. Like I thought this one would be like everyone was like throwing stuff at me, but yeah. It can help with things like meditation, where you can become more absorbed in things. Not just meditation, but also being absorbed in, if you have a task or something to do. We become very aware of what we're doing. We put our minds on the task. Yeah. We can become more self-aware. We can become more in tune on what's actually happening right now. Yeah. Yeah, we might be able to see what's going on in our own mind and how we're reacting. We become, again, so a little bit more mindful, a little bit more mindful of the present. So, okay, cool. So there's lots of like upsides of being in the present. So, and we can also think of things like, well, if I'm more in the present, I'm more aware, I'm more calm, I'm seeing things clearly for what they are, and that's the basic idea why everybody says being in the present is a good thing. Okay, so let's think of like, okay, what's some like downsides of being too in the present? This is a bit harder. This one's a bit harder.
You just actually have no idea what's going to happen to you in the future.
Yeah. You have absolutely, like you're so wrapped up in now, you're not thinking forward, and you might make mistakes from something like that. Yeah. And so accepting what is, how would that be like a negative thing? Yeah, okay. So one way I could see that is like I accept what is, and it's like actually it might be a really bad situation, and I'm just accepting what it is. I'm in the present, and actually you're not acting to get yourself out of that situation because you're kind of wrapped up in the present. There's a few younger people here, and I'm not picking on you here with this one. It's like, can we think of like a child or an adolescent that's just in the present? Are they always making good decisions? Impulsive decisions? So being impulsive, like you're acting in the moment in that time, is that always a good thing? No, not really. Sometimes it is, obviously, but sometimes it's not. And so we can also think about things in terms of like our spiritual practice as well, and our actual practice. Sometimes being, and I see this a lot in like contemplatives, you get so wrapped up in the present moment, you actually become oblivious to what's happening around you. You're not very aware of how your speech and actions are impacting people. Also, there's this kind of downside as well, so something that we call spiritual bypassing, whereby you're so focused on the present that anything that you may have done, you just kind of forget about it. Or there's something driving your thoughts and behavior that you're just really not paying attention to because you're just kind of like stuck in the present. So if we kind of look into this, we can see in this kind of way, just like the past or the future, that's neither good nor bad. We can also take the same kind of logic to the present as well. Being in the present is neither like great or neither is it like negative as well. So the question we kind of have to ask ourselves is like, well, what's the problem here? Like, what is actually the problem? Is the problem the past or the future? And is the problem the present? Or is it something else? Is there something else that's kind of coloring the way that we kind of see the world here? And this is where I think there's this element of Buddhism and what the Buddha taught. This is where it kind of shifts everything about this. And this is something that the Buddha talked about and what he called yoniso manasikara, what we call wise reflection or wise attention. But he also talked about ayoniso manasikara, or unwise reflection, or unwise attention. So just to, I've thrown this thing out there at the moment of like, hey, maybe maybe the present isn't all that it's cracked up to be, and you might go, Ajahn Sādaro, you're jumping off a cliff here. Like, what are you going on about? Actually, so I found some stuff where the Buddha also said something like this as well. There's this sutta, again in the Majjhima Nikaya, it's called All the Taints, where the Buddha talks about how we unwisely reflect to the past and the future and also in the present. So he basically says that one reflects unwisely. Was I in the past? Was I not in the past? What was I in the past? How was I in the past? Having been what? What did I become in the past? And so this is a way to unwisely reflect on the past. Likewise, the future is like, shall I be in the future? Shall I not be in the future? What shall I be in the future? How shall I be in the future? Having been what shall I become in the future? So this is a way, if we reflect on the future in this kind of way, it's unskillful, we could say. And he also talks about the present in this way as well. He said, or else we become inwardly perplexed about the present. Am I? Am I not? What am I? How am I? Where has this being come from? Where will it go? So what we can kind of see here is that if we reflect on the past, or we attend to the past in a particular kind of way, or we attend to and reflect on the future in a particular kind of way, and also if we attend to and reflect on the present in a particular kind of way, what we're doing is kind of reflecting on it in terms of our identity. We're reflecting on it in terms of a kind of reified self. It's this me that's within time. It's this me that is thinking about my story in the past. It's this me that's thinking about what I will become in the future. It's this me that kind of experiences everything right now. So I become wrapped up in my own experience. So this reflecting unwisely in this way about the past, the present, or the future, what the Buddha says this does is like it entangles us in a thicket of views about ourselves. Whereas wise reflection, it goes the other way. We can reflect on the past and the present and the future in this very wise way that actually allows things to open up. So if we're reflecting on the past and the present and the future in this unwise way, it kind of traps us. It traps us in something and we become identified with it. But wisely reflecting on the past, the present, and the future, actually this is something that starts to free us. We can start to look at the past and the present and the future and go, what is it here that is creating suffering? What is causing suffering here? What kind of qualities can I develop? What kind of qualities can be developed here within the past, the present, or future? What kind of things should I cultivate? What kind of things should I abandon? This kind of changes how we perceive time in this way and our relationship to time in this way. So the way I kind of think about this is that I don't think the problem is like the past or thinking about or being enmeshed in the past, the present, or the future. I think it's, for myself, I think it's personally about the way that we perceive and we construct and we conceptualize the past, the present, and the future. And so I want to make a bit of a stronger claim here, in that it's a bit more of a stronger ontological claim about how we perceive reality itself. So from our own perception, if we're unskillfully, we're doing unwise reflection on the past, the present, or the future. Again, if I think about the past unwisely, again, this is me, this is my story. Or if I think about the future unwisely, then I start to think about, this is my fate, I'm determined to be this way. Or if I think unwisely about the present, it's about me experiencing something. So our conception of time and reality itself actually starts to become wrapped up in ourselves. So our self basically shapes reality in this way. It shapes reality in this way that if you're wrapped up within yourself and you're only viewing past, present, and future through yourself, you're shifting the structure of reality and the way you perceive it. If you shift it in this way, the way that you act in the world is going to change reality going forward. But likewise, again, it's a kind of a stronger ontological claim here that the way that we perceive past, present, and future, it shifts and shapes and reconstructs reality. And if we're doing this in a skillful and wise way, it's actually changing the structure of what we experience and reality as we experience it. You might sort of say in this way, it's like, well, that may be just something that's in your own mind. That's maybe just something that's in your own perception. I'm kind of making a stronger claim here because I actually really do think it changes the structure of existence. Because if something changes within your own mind, it's obviously going to change how you relate to the world in this different kind of way. And the way that you're relating to the world and acting in the world, it is actually like changing how reality is shaped around you. So a lot of this, our relationship to time, it's really something about how we're perceiving and how we're constructing it. It's got nothing to do with the time itself. It's got nothing to do with what we're thinking about time or what we're thinking about. It's about how we're actually relating to it. So, this is a kind of, it's a much stronger claim, is that like the past and the present and the future, that's not really the problem. It's how we're relating to it. It's how we're constructing it. It's how we're actually seeing it. Again, I think there's one way we look at these things whereby it's, if we're doing it in a wise way, this is something that frees us. We can actually, we change our relationship to the structure of reality and the structure of time. If we're doing it in this wise way, it frees us. But if we're doing it in this way where we're seeing time through just the self, then this traps us. This is the thing that causes us more suffering. So I don't think the problem has ever really been time in itself in this way. I think the problem is more how we're constructing and how we're perceiving it. Unwise attention to time is producing suffering. Wise attention to time and wise reflection on time, this is actually something that can free us. So this is something, just to kind of close it out, this is what we have to ask ourselves when we're thinking about the past. If I'm thinking about the past, am I doing it in a way that reduces my suffering? Am I doing it in a way where I'm thinking, or I'm looking at, well, these are the causal factors that went into play to produce a particular kind of thing? If we do something like this, then what we're doing is something called right effort. We're thinking, what was wholesome? What was wholesome that was in the past? What was unwholesome? What was the things that led to that? How do I develop that, or how do I abandon those things? We're reflecting on the past in this way with right effort. So this is, in some way, recreating what we experience. When we start to think about or inhibit the future, if we think about it in this kind of way and with wise reflection, we actually start to think, what kind of qualities do I bring to the future? Can I have, and this isn't my idea. This is something I'm quite indebted to somebody called Shamila. She offers the Dharma and talked about Venerable Metta Vihari, who's in Sri Lanka, not the one that in Newbury, another one. But she, this is what got me thinking about this and thinking about this idea of how we have metta for the future. How do we have metta for the future? How do we bring this quality of kindness within to the future? How do we bring these other qualities of equitable, say for example, the 7 factors of, something like the 7 factors of enlightenment, of joy, tranquility, effort, investigating Dhamma, equanimity, concentration. How do we take those into the future? How do we shape the future by those kinds of qualities? So I think if we look at the past and the present in this way, the past is something where it's like we can use this to reflect on causality. We can use this to reflect on causal conditioning. So this is kind of developing right view. If we look into the future of the qualities that I need to develop and the things that I need to abandon, this is kind of developing the right aspects of the past, right aspects of the path, sorry. And what I think, the present actually is, if we're using the present in the right way, it's the kind of the marrying of these two things. It's this wisdom that knows causality, but it's also this development and this cultivation of all these different kinds of qualities. And the present can be like the joining of that. And again, this present, this joins that, shifts everything. If you start to think about the future in an equanimous way, it actually shifts and changes how you act in the world. If you start to think about the future in this way, where it's like this, how you can bring like metta and tranquility to the future, again, it shifts how you act in the world. If you use these kinds of reflections on what has happened before, again, you learn something from it. So just to kind of reiterate, I don't think, this overly simplistic idea of just be in the present. I just don't think that that's practical. I don't think that's useful. Anybody that says that to you, you usually just want to strangle them, because they're usually saying it to you in the time of like, I'm really stressed out and I'm worrying about, I don't know, my family that's in the hospital or something. Oh, don't worry about the future. You can't control it. Just be in the present. And it's like, you can't just do that. You just can't do that thing. It's like, this thing that I said in the past, and I'm kind of really worrying about it and I'm losing sleep at it. And somebody comes in and says, it's in the past. Let it go. Don't worry about it. Be in the present. It's like, I can't do that. So I think, that kind of overly simplistic idea of just being in the present, I don't really think that that's practical. What I do think is practical is more this approach that we actually take towards the past and the future and the present. Are we relating to the past and the present and the future in a skillful or an unskillful way? Are we doing it wisely? Are we wisely reflecting on the past, present, and future? Or are we doing it unwisely? Are we attending to it in this way where it can facilitate freedom? Or are we relating it to this way where it kind of traps us in an identity view? So hopefully that's just something that you can kind of take away from that. It's like the past and the future, thinking about these things, it's not necessarily bad. The future is not necessarily better than both of those. It's just that the way that we construct it and we perceive it, one way actually traps us, and I think another way frees us from that. So that's, all I've got to say about that. So yeah, maybe we can ask, if you've got questions now, it's probably a good time to ask questions.
Thanks, Ajahn. So we'll alternate between the
for sure.
in-person audience and the online audience. We haven't got anything online yet, so
cool.
See how we go.
Thank you, Ajahn, for always the thought-provoking discussions.
Yeah.
Yes, we are talking of a behavior of a mind, isn't it?
Sorry, can you say that again? Sorry.
We are talking about how the mind behaves.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Yep.
See, vast majority of people in this world and vast majority of times, mind is everywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
When you say everywhere, present, past, future,
Yeah, yeah.
that's what it is.
Yep.
It's a monkey mind,
Yep.
everywhere.
Yep.
Only when you try to meditate, you realize that where it is going, and otherwise even we don't know where it is going.
Yep.
So this world has developed to a level we are materially, in spite of all that type of behavior of the mind,
Yep.
science, everything, knowledges. But Buddha is talking of something else, of the importance of living at the moment. That is, now this world which is developed is suffering.
Yep.
You know that that's what Buddha said.
Yep.
Anicca dukkha anattma. The whole cycle of birth and death. So we are talking as Buddhists is to get rid of this suffering.
Yep.
So that is where this living in the present moment come into play.
Yeah.
And you understand when you start meditating.
Yep.
So when you start meditating with breath meditation or whatever it is, you start with suppressing the hindrances, and then you reflect mindfulness, and of course, four foundation of mindfulness, and that is where the wisdom comes.
Yep.
So wisdom will not arise properly unless you live in the present moment.
Yep.
Yeah, because that is a time that you really don't see yourself, me, mine, and myself. That's the real wisdom. See as things as they are. When you don't have me, mine, myself in that thought.
Yeah.
During that time only you become wiser. And that leads to eventual liberation from suffering. That's what it is. Ekain komaggo, Buddha
Yeah,
said
yeah,
that.
yeah.
One way. So once you have got the wisdom, yes, you can sit and reflect. That is the, these 7 factors of enlightenment.
Yeah.
Second one is wise reflection.
Yep.
Dhamma Vijaya. That is good because then it can proceed from there.
Yeah.
So without wisdom, if you try to have the mind this way or that way,
Yep.
it is not giving any advantages. But the wise mind can do that.
Yeah.
But to develop wisdom, you have to practice
Yeah.
living in the moment.
Yeah. I'd also, I do agree. I do agree with that. And there's an element there that also, wisdom doesn't only just come from the moment as well, like the present moment as well. I'm not saying it doesn't, it obviously can. But also I think, wisdom can come from the past as well, being wise about things that have happened. Also as well, being cautious about things that are, that are going to happen in the future. What kind of actions should I take? What kinds of things should I do? So I think wisdom can be contingent on all three of those time points. We can have wisdom because we reflect on the past. We can have wisdom because we're trying to travel forward into the future in some way. But then also wisdom, like you said, being in the present and kind of knowing the present for what it is. But I think it's also hard to have wisdom in the present if we don't develop it in those other 2 time points as well. Like it's kind of like, and this was the one, and I'm not saying that you were saying this in any kind of way, but we can kind of, like an example here, and I forgot to bring this up when I was giving the talk, was we can, and unfortunately we've all kind of seen people that have like very severe Alzheimer's. Very severe Alzheimer's is like they can't pull on the past. They can't pull on something on the past, and maybe they can't, sort of see too far into the future. They're really just in the present. So the wisdom that we have depends a lot on the past as well, and also depends a lot on how we're kind of viewing the future as well. I think, but I think you're right there. It's like when we actually meditate, this is the thing where we start to see actually, my mind goes in these different ways. Goes all over the place, the monkey mind. And again, this is what I would see as unskillful or ayoniso manasikara, unwisely reflecting on this. Whereas I think, what I think is that, if we have wise reflection on this. This is actually something where we do start to develop these different factors of wisdom and all these kinds of things. So yeah, again, I think it's just how we're relating. We're relating to it, and what kind of factor, what we're sort of pulling from the past, or what we're viewing in the future. That's really like, that's what's developing kind of wisdom in the present as well. So yeah.
Ajahn, we've got an online question here.
Yep.
So the question is, how do we keep the Dharma in mind when dealing with others? And if we lose our way a bit and get angry with somebody, how can we get back on course?
Yeah. So can you repeat that?
Sorry, I have to scroll back onto this. All right.
You've moved too far into the future.
That's all right. No, this thing's moving all over the place. Sorry. How do we keep the Dhamma in mind when dealing with others? And then also, if we lose our way a bit and get angry with somebody, how can we get back on course?
So, just because I'm thinking about this right now, is that I think the way that we kind of keep the Dhamma in mind when we're dealing with others and we're dealing with difficult others is through this aspect of wise reflection again. And we have to have been putting the right kind of causes in place. I think it was you that mentioned is like how we deal with people that are difficult. How we deal with people that are difficult is like, if we know that we have to deal with somebody that's difficult, it's like, well, again, using these kinds of qualities is like, well, how do I deal with this person with equanimity? How do I deal, like when, before you have to go and meet them or whatever, how do I deal with them with equanimity? How do I deal with them in the most skillful manner possible? How do I deal with this person with kindness and compassion? If we think about the qualities that we need to take into the future to deal with them, these kind of Dhamma qualities then we actually like shape the future. We shape how our we shape our relationship with this person through these kinds of factors. So I think this is essentially how this is how we take the Dhamma into these other areas of the world. We have to, in this way, like set ourselves up of like, well, okay, well, I've had this interaction with this person in the past, and these are the different kinds of causes and conditions that have kind of made our relationship this way. What was skillful? What was unskillful about that? What was wholesome? What was unwholesome about that? What things trigger them? Again, so you have to go in the past with the person, but then also you have to think about the future. How do I deal with them in the future? So I think this is the way that we actually kind of really like bring the Dhamma into these relationships that we have in our daily lives. And what was the second part of the question? Sorry? Yeah, asking you to scroll again. Go back to the past.
If we lose our way a bit,
yeah, for sure.
how do we get back on track?
Yeah. So look, and again, so if we lose our way a bit, this relates to that as like the past as well. It's like, yeah, I made a mistake. And you said this is like, this is the benefit of going back to the past. We learn from it. Okay, I did this thing. It was, it was unskillful. Learn from it. Go forward. Okay, if I'm in this situation again, how do I best move forward? Again, not beating yourselves up and again, that would be looking at the past in this unwise reflection on the past. But we use wise reflection on the past of like, yeah, I did this thing and I fell off the wagon or whatever it was, but how do I now move forward skillfully? So again, how we're relating to it, it's the past or the future. It's either skillful or unskillful. It's wise or unwise. So just whenever we're kind of fallen off the horse or whatever, it's like, again, think about this in terms of like wise reflection and skillful reflection and unskillful reflection. Is this creating more suffering or is this leading to more freedom? I think Susan had a hand up first, by the way. I saw the hand go up before the online question.
Thanks. It wasn't really a question so much as, well, sort of,
Yep.
but just when you were speaking about viewing the way we've carried out some particular action or interrelationship, and how it could be different.
Yep.
How we could change things, and what the outcome would be from that. Particularly, I think, in terms of how it influences what's around.
Yep.
Creates the future,
Yeah.
creates a new now.
Yep.
I was just thinking, really what we're doing there, isn't it, is building the ethics part of our existence. Ethical awareness is that not what we're doing?
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's what we're doing.
And that's how we change the present and the future.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's moving in that way. Now you would think, on the one hand, you could basically say, yeah, me trying to develop these kinds of qualities, quote unquote positive qualities that will have a positive ethical knock on to the future. It's not always the way. Good. What's the saying? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. Mm-hmm. So it's not always necessarily the case. It will always reshape the ethical world in this kind of way, and to an ethical perspective. Most of the time, it does. I think, yeah. Probabilistically, I'd say it mainly does. But in some way, it's not a sure thing. But I think there's an element there of what you're saying is, yeah, if we're changing the mind state in this way, it is changing how we're interacting in the world. And generally, if these are more in line with Dharma and more positive qualities, it's hopefully having a useful ethical, like a moral impact on the world in this kind of way. Again, thinking about, like a bad actor, not a somebody that on a stage or anything like that, just about like a person that's hostile in some kind of way. Dealing with that person with non-Dharma qualities, anger, aggression, frustration, that's usually going to lead to more, unethical things happening. Sometimes it actually might be the right thing to do, though. Stopping somebody in this way. Yeah. Like, in the same breath, though, like dealing with this bad actor with kindness, compassion, understanding, patience, skillfulness, wisdom, that also might be the thing that stops them in this way. Most of the time, I think it's better to err towards those more positive Dhamma-like qualities, but it's just to say that it doesn't always work. You can be kind to a dictator, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to be a dictator anymore. So hopefully that's not too convoluted. Yeah.
Ajahn, there's two questions here, but I'll go with the short one first. Yep. The question is, how does the silence lay in all of this? So I presume it's within this present moment and what you've been talking about. How does the silence lay in all of this?
Yeah, good question. So Victory, you were here yesterday. We did a retreat and I made the whole thing silent. I didn't say anything the whole day. It was great. It was the easiest retreat I've ever done in my life. It was great. It was fantastic. Yeah. So yeah, where does the silence lie in all of this? It's like, well, so the silence, I think let's call it a course level, like a course level silence. If there's an external silence there, then actually it might start to bring about some of these reflections on the past and the future, and we can kind of see, am I either like relating to it skillfully or unskillfully, wisely or unwisely. I think that's one level. That's kind of one level where like silence can actually help you see how you're relating to the past, the present, and the future. If we go down a deeper level, and I think this is probably what the question is aiming at, is like, well, how does the quality of silence potentially within the mind, how does that relate to past, present, and future? I think this is a more difficult question, because you can maybe see it in a few different ways. There might be, if there's silence within the present, and again, it could have these knock-on effects where it's either you're a useful thing or it's a not useful thing in the way that we deal with the past and the present. we talked a little bit before about like the downsides of just being in the present and just being silent. There's these aspects where we might be sort of ignoring things. Then there's probably the positive side of it as well. Of like, okay, if we can be silent in these things, we can allow kind of reality to unfold in a particular way, and we're aware of how reality is unfolding in a particular kind of way. So, I think in this kind of way, we can sort of see that, like, the silence in this kind of deeper perspective, I think it could probably go both ways. So yeah, I don't have a good, so that's not a good, good question. I haven't thought about it enough. And that's probably not a satisfactory answer to that, but that's all I can really kind of think of at the moment about that. It's not very good, but yeah.
Ajahn, what exactly do you mean by reflection?
Yeah.
Like, to me,
Yeah.
reflection, it's like a mirror,
Yeah.
which just things appear and disappear, come and go. There's
Yeah.
no attachment.
Yeah.
The other option is projection, you've got all these stuff going on and you project that on reality.
Yeah.
So it sounds to me like when you talk about reflection, it's like thinking about, analysing, all that stuff. What exactly do you mean?
Yeah, good question. So yeah, yoniso manasikara. Yoniso manasikara. It's translated in a few different ways. Sometimes it's called wise reflection. Sometimes it's called wise attention. The way I kind of see reflection in this way, it's probably a perspective of how we're attending to something. So we reflect in this kind of way, in that there's sometimes an element of an analytic component to it, a contemplative component to it. Other times there might be we reflect in this way on something, and it's reflected through some of these qualities that these kind of Dhamma qualities that we have. We can see, we can see in some way that, okay, well, I can see this thing with equanimity, or I reflect on this at the moment with equanimity. So it can be a little bit of both. I think wise, yoniso manasikara, it's pretty broad. What it can actually mean. It can mean actually actively trying to project and actively think through something, but it can just mean seeing it with clarity as well. So I think it's probably a little bit of both, and I'd probably say. If we're going to ask, well, how do we practically use that? I think different times we probably have to rely on different elements of that. Sometimes we might have to actively analyze something and actively reflect on it in that way. Other times we might just be able to reflect and sort of, kind of see it through a certain kind of lens, more spontaneous in that way. So, yeah, if I was to give a concise definition, I kind of think it could be both. It could be a little bit of that actual contemplation, where we're contemplating in terms of Dharma. Also, an element of like seeing something as well and perceiving it in a particular kind of way. So, does that make sense, or? So. Yes and no. Good. Yes and no is good. I like yes and no.
Ajahn, an online question here.
Yep.
So Ajahn, you asked about the downsides and the upsides of the past.
Yep.
According to my book knowledge of the Dharma, I would say that remorse, and I don't know how to pronounce this word in Pali, but it's kakucha, is a downside, but moral shame, hiri, is an upside. But in practice, I don't know how to differentiate them. How can I differentiate them?
Yeah, good, really good question. It's something I think about quite a lot. So we have, and it was something I forgot to bring up in the talk as well, this idea of relating to the past, and it's actually one thing that the Buddha recommends a lot, is relating to the past with like what we call hiri odapa. So a sense of, it's a strange translation, a sense of shame of wrongdoing. That's the standard kind of English translation of that thing. Now, when we think of shame, we think about that as a kind of a negative self-evaluative emotion. It's something where I look at myself and I say that myself is negative in this kind of way. Where what I think is probably a better way to think about it. I don't really know. I think about like hiri ottappa as what we call compunction. So compunction is like you have this sense that this is something that is potentially unskillful. So I don't want to act on that skillful that thing that's unskillful. So having hiri in this way in the sense of shame, where we're beating ourselves up for the wrong thing that we do, and we feel bad for it. I don't think that that's necessarily always the best thing. There's also something about that as well. We can, on the other hand, we can say actually having a sense of shame in this way, it's actually quite useful. To be. Wouldn't it be nicer if some leaders in the world had a little bit more shame about the way that they kind of conducted themselves? So it's not necessarily the case that shame is actually necessarily a bad thing in this way. Somebody watching online? Hi. Hey, my echo is gone. I was like, yeah, they're saying the same thing as me. It's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Somebody's really taking what I say to heart, and they're just repeating everything that I say. It's great. Where was I? So I don't necessarily think shame in this kind of way all the time is necessarily a bad thing. But obviously, if it's to the point where we're kind of beating ourselves up, the whole time, then hiri in this way, seeing it through this lens of shame, it's probably not the most useful way. Again, I think thinking about hiri in terms of hiri and ottappa in terms of compunction, about how we're concerned about what our actions actually, the results that they actually have, and we're concerned that if they're unskillful, it is actually going to create more suffering.
More questions from the floor? Ajahn, I might try and sort of ask this question. I can't quite frame it exactly, but going back to this issue of silence. So sometimes is it true, like, we sit down to meditate and we may have a view that meditation, as you say, we're just going to be in the present moment. Yep. And then perhaps unconsciously we kind of just start shutting things off. Yeah. Okay? And so we shut a whole bunch of things off. We're not really attuned to them. Now we might get a silence of sorts, but it's artificial in the sense that once we open back up again, all of those things are there one more time. Yep. So I suppose the question is there a place for seeing meditation like that as, putting down a range of things, but being aware that by doing that we're not actually thinking about them in a beneficial way. And then when we come out of that, we have the ability, perhaps with a bit of stillness, to look again at those things. Yeah, nice. So I think that's a nice way to think about this, because say for example from the everybody's heard the samatha vipassana debate. It's like, don't get too involved in samatha because you'll just get lost in the stillness, and there's most of the time it's like, well, you're not really going to get that still anyway, so don't worry about it. Just get lost in the stillness for a little while. It's okay. It's okay. Try it. Just do it first. But there is a bit of wisdom to that, and actually, so for example, from the Thai forest tradition, one thing that is emphasized quite a lot is just having samadhi is not enough, because what you do is you just sit on top of the defilements in this way. The analogy is it's like you get a rock and you put it on the grass. And the grass seems like it dies, but it hasn't really died yet. But you move the rock, and then all of a sudden, the grass comes back again.
So there's this idea of like, if we go into stillness, what we might be doing is just stilling the defilements, that like they're still there. You know, all your defilements are actually still there. It's everything's actually still there. They've just been suppressed for a period of time. Now, this is why, and obviously this is a Buddhist, like a Buddhist way of thinking, and this is especially like with the Thai forest tradition. The big thing is like you need both. You need both samadhi, so you need stillness, and you need wisdom as well. These things have to be developed together, and one actually supports the other. You know, so if one can develop some sort of stillness, using that kind of energy and power to develop wisdom actually allows you to see these quote-unquote defilements that are suppressed and deeper in the mind. You can see them more clearly and you can work with them more clearly. Likewise, the more clearly you can see with wisdom and insight in this way, this is something that enables you to develop more calm and develop more stillness in this way. So there's that element there that if we just focus on stillness, actually what we could be doing is just suppressing these bad things that are, you know, all these negative kind of states that are in the mind. And again, I think if we look at just from a very simplistic perspective, as like I brought up the idea before about spiritual bypassing, and that's kind of what this is. We get so involved in our own mind and developing calm and wisdom, calm in our own mind, that we kind of forget everything else that's going on, and the things that are actually driving us, we're overlooking them because we're just trying to make the mind still. So that has to be balanced. I really do think that there has to be like that stillness, that silence. It actually has to be balanced with wisdom as well. You can't really have one without the other, and if you do, then you're, you know, essentially leading yourself astray. If you just try to develop wisdom, that's the other flip side of the samatha vipassana debate. It's like, no, you just need vipassana. It's like, well, you're doing that, but you're just kind of like thinking about thinking, and you're just like, you're ramping yourself up. You don't actually have the calm there. So I really do think we need both. I've said this in a few talks before. It's like we have to develop all these aspects of the path. It's not like we just do one thing and we do another. Like there's so many of these different qualities that we develop. You know, if the Buddha was like just telling us to do one thing, and like there'd be way less in the suttas. He was just telling us to do this one thing and saying, oh, yeah, just be still, be silent. Yeah, okay, what's the rest of the canon? Like it's, you know, there's a lot of things that we need to try to develop, and we have to try to develop these things in balance. Probably got time for one more, I think.
One small comment about...
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
One moment.
Yep.
It's just so that people...
One small comment about this wise reflection. Yoniso Manasikara means to see things as they are at the moment. Yeah. Wise reflection is second factor of Sattva-Bodhanga, seven factor of enlightenment. Yeah. That is reflecting with wisdom. Yeah. That is Dhamma Vijaya. That is two different things.
Yep. Yeah. So I think, you know, because you're right. There's that element where what would be considered wise reflection in that way is like seeing things with Dharma. So, yep.
Okay. All right.
Cool.
Might be time for the Sunday announcements, if I can. Okay. So thank you, Ajahn. First of all, before we do the announcements, thank you for your thoughts, reflections. As always, more things to think about.
Yep.
And more aspects to practice. Okay. Special announcements. So first thing is just repeating our call out for volunteers. So we've our Vesak celebrations will start on the 2nd of May with Ajahn Brahm, and there's a public event in Box Hill Town Hall. So we're seeking a few more people to help join the Vesak organising committee. And if you're interested in helping, can you email your contact to events@bsv.net.au. Today, after the the Dharma offering and lunch at 12 in the library. We're having a dispute resolution consultation. So we're looking at, the committee's been looking for some time at reforming some aspects of the dispute resolution process in our constitution. We'd originally thought we might bring this to the AGM this year, but we've come to the conclusion that it's a slightly bigger task than that. So we're wanting to explain why we'd like to do it to anyone who's interested, and we're hoping that those who come along, at least a couple of people might like to join a subcommittee so that we can have a sort of broader input around these questions. Then this is a heads up for a communal fundraiser. There's going to be organised by the BSV online community. It's an informal fundraiser for the Buddhaloka Centre here, just to support continued sharing of Dhamma and follow the style of a forest cloth offering. That's as a short traditional Thai ceremony, but updated, I guess, for the modern world, delivered in multiple languages to reflect our diverse online community. So it'll be Sunday, the 22nd of March, so 2 weeks away. And there'll be, again, some more notices next week. This week in our newsletter, I think perhaps for the first time, we had a note about a Harmony Week event in Dandenong that's being run by the Dandenong Interfaith Network. It sort of arrived because I said, we'd like more Buddhists to come along to our interfaith events. So then the guest speaker for that event, that'll be Wednesday the 18th of March, and the details are in the newsletter. The guest speaker is the Australian Bishop for the Ukrainian Catholics. Now, I'll get the pronunciation wrong, but it's something like Mykola Baichop. Okay. City Zen AGM is held next week, Saturday the 14th of March. That will be here from 2 to 4 p.m. Those details are in the newsletter. And then going on to retreats, so we have both the Ajahn Brahm retreat, which is a 10-day retreat from the 2nd to the 11th of April. So that's over the Easter period and continuing on past Easter. And then the Ajahn Brahm 7-day report, which is the 3rd to the 9th of May. Those retreats were initially made available to members only, but they're now open to non-members. There's one spot only left in the Ajahn Brahm retreat. And then Monday night, Ajahn Sādaro will again be here leading. Maybe he'll be just sitting here, just saying.
Yep. It's hard job I have.
He might continue with that silent teaching style. Then next week we'll have Venerable Chi Konsanim coming to deliver the Dhamma talk, and on Monday night there will be Ajahn Sādaro one more time. That's it for the announcements.
Nice.
Ajahn, would you like to formally close and before we head off to have a shared meal and offering of Dhamma? Thank you.
Okay, so we'll pay respect to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha and we'll make our way over for arms round. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Okay, very good. So, anyone like to come over for a shared lunch? You're more than welcome to make your way over to the Vihara.